Brian Wong, how you doing, man? It's been a very, 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 very interesting day. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Doing great.
I just got off shooting a video with Jeff Lutz, and that will be on later tonight at 7:45. And he and I will deep dive into the earnings on the big three that did their earnings today. We'll take a fairly doggone deep dive into the Fed results, but I do want to get top level stuff from you on both of those. But I also want to couch it in terms of the impact on Tesla stock. So I don't know. I guess all of those things could impact Tesla stock because, if as goes high tech. But anyway, what were your thoughts today as the Fed was trying to destroy the market and the tech firms were all beating like crazy?
Well, they did the 25% base point cut, so that went as planned.
Right.
And I don't think there was anything in Jerome's statements that would indicate they're not going to do the next 25-point cut.
Well,
Do
did
you
say
do you think
don't
there was?
count.
What?
He
What?
did say don't count on it. He said it like
He said
40.
don't count on it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Don't count, but I think he was still saying it was, dependent upon unemployment and dependent upon, the inflation aspect of it. So um, I still think it's going to happen.
Okay.
But, the fact that he won't commit to it is not new, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't think there was a surprise. I think the surprise, as Jeff will say, he'll agree with this. The surprise was that he said it at all, that he
Right.
said, don't count on it at all.
Right.
Because it was baked in. I mean, the betting markets have it at like, I don't know, 70 something percent or whatever. I didn't
Right.
look to see if it went down or how much it went down. But yeah, so I would say, I think there's still a pretty good chance. Now you're the futurist, so yeah,
Yeah.
so you can't afford to say it if you don't think it's going to be true.
Right. Right.
Use your rep, man.
Right. 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 So I'm still thinking it's gonna happen. I
Okay,
think that
December. That's December cut.
December cut, 25
Okay.
basis point. Yeah.
And the president will be putting bombs under his car if he doesn't. Is that
He's gonna be out in May. He's gonna be out in May. So after that, it won't matter anyway
right?
because soon it won't be him. So
Right.
right.
So do we count this 25 basis point cuts as a good thing for Tesla, and maybe a slight uh, uh, setback in terms of the next cut, but at least for today and for the next 90 days, we've got, I'm sorry, 90 days, 75 days, we have that cut in place.
Right.
And so that's going to be good either in terms of margins, if Tesla's going to buy down interest rates, or it'll be good in terms of what's the opposite if they don't buy down the interest? Oh yeah, yeah, it'd be good for the consumer because they can buy it for a cheaper amount.
Right. For me, the main thing is that I think the overly restrictive interest rates increases the risks of things breaking the financial system. I think that there are banks and regional banks
Mhm.
that are not healthy in this high interest rate environment,
Mhm.
in restrictive interest rate environment.
Right.
And so I view the reducing the rates as reducing the chance that some financial blow up happens. To me, that's I think is as maybe it's not a huge chance, but it's something that I prefer to see things lower because I think that would reduce the risk that they have problems. Because I think they still had a lot of issues with um, you know being somewhat out of position on
Oh
interest
yeah,
rates.
they have some issues, all right. They got some issues in office buildings, and
Yeah.
and the thing is the office buildings, those guys need to the owners of the office buildings need to renegotiate their loans. I think it's every 5 years,
Hmm.
maybe it's every seven, but those are not 30-year loans or 40-year loans. Those are like 7 or 5 or whatever. And so when they come back to renegotiate those,
Yeah.
then the interest rate obviously matters a lot.
Yeah.
If they can get it for a lower interest rate, then some of this mark to market issue goes away. I mean, they don't mark to market. That's the thing. They're carrying losses. That I mean, they're not. They have losses that are not on their books. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Right, right. So I prefer things to be lower because of that, and then
Right.
also, in general, being more stimulative. I think it's there's no good reason for them to be so restrictive because I don't think inflation is that a problem right now.
Right. So one of the things that he said in the call, which is
Yeah,
what we've been saying for a long time, he keeps
yeah,
changing the number.
mhm,
Last time, 6 weeks ago, he said that the tariffs were only about 3 to 4%. I'm sorry,
yeah,
0.3 to 0.4%. This
mhm,
time he kept on futzing around. He didn't give us he kept on giving us different numbers, but it was more like 0.5 to zero point 0.6. But anything between zero point 0.3 and zero point 0.6 is still a nothing burger.
right, right. I agree.
So, I'm not sure why, I don't know why he only brings up tariffs.
Right.
He doesn't bring up other things like AI that I think are impacting the economy like 100 times more than the tariffs are, even using his own words of zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.6.
Yeah, I agree that he's not managing the big things that are really important to the economy. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, yep. All right. So Tesla, I think I know we'll look at this in a minute, but I just wanted to see. Tesla down, yeah, down. It's 458.90 for just under 460. So, does this cost us? Does this mean I don't get my 500 on Friday?
Um, I think it's going to be difficult to get to 500 on Friday. Yes, I
Do
think
you think we
so.
need some news to do that?
Yeah, I think we need some news to do that. I think in terms of it's feeling like we're going to kind of drift sideways or down or slightly up, but not move that much up until November 6th, when we have the annual meeting and then have something there. I don't think barring some other um, announcement from Tesla that thing will move that much. I think
So Nicholas Gibbs and I argued for a half an hour last night about whether it wasn't really half an hour, but it seemed like it. So we were arguing about does the stock go up between now and the meeting based on the certainty that Elon's going to get his vote,
right,
and then does it sell off on the news?
right.
That would be Nicholas Gibbs' position.
Mhm.
Or do we go into the meeting because of other reasons, the market, the stock moving nicely up because of the FSD and because of all these new, what do you want to call it, all these new price targets,
Mhm.
and just general news between now and then. And then when Elon gets his package, that takes the last hangover
Yeah.
out of the picture, allowing the stock then to actually start going where it should be. That's my position.
Yeah. So I
And
think
maybe you have a third position.
if we move, it's probably going to be next week. I think it's going to be Monday or Tuesday that we move. I don't think it doesn't feel like we're going to get the move in the next 2 days. So Thursday,
Right,
Friday. I don't think
right.
I don't think we move then. I think for whatever reason, things are kind of holding off. We had some pretty good earnings from the three of what Meta, Google,
And Microsoft.
Microsoft
Mhm.
that reported today. They all beat slightly, but it doesn't seem to have moved things that much, unless I'm mistaken, right? Um,
No, no. Well, Microsoft was up. No,
yeah,
I'm sorry. Is it Microsoft? Wait. No, Google was up.
right.
I think it was I'm probably getting it wrong.
Yeah,
One was up and the other two were down, but there was specific circumstances, almost like Tesla, that
yeah,
caused the other two to be down. So I
right,
think if it wasn't for those special circumstances, they would all three be up today.
right. So it was slight beats, and then they're still guiding well. So it seems like everything is kind of on track. The only reason things would suddenly move, say, based on some analysis over the next few days. One, we still have two more big, what Apple and who else reports tomorrow?
Amazon.
Amazon. Yeah, yeah. So we still have the rest of the Mag 7 to report, but given the other three were fine, you expect the next two to be roughly in line. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think the
they
biggest question on Amazon is going to be with AWS and because Google and somebody else. Anyway, there's I guess it's Google and and Microsoft also compete with them now,
right.
and their cloud services was like this,
Yeah,
and so the question is Is Amazon losing share? Now, there's obviously the cloud business is growing like crazy and it's going to continue to grow like crazy. But if they do show some evidence of losing share, that would probably be the thing that might hurt their
It'd be
numbers.
difficult to see. Um, so they had the big outages. I think
Right, right.
I think like twice now. So they had another decent outage again this week. So, but the thing is, your big customers can't move quickly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like it's not like they can just like, oh, we need to shift over. And I think Chamath was mentioning how you need to have use your top three anyway. Although Oracle's coming up big too,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think Oracle will be a major player. I think it just means that long term, um, they'll drift down some. Like you would say, okay, you screwed up and you caused this outage, so I can rely on you even less. So maybe before it was like,
Hmm.
you know, 30, 30, 20, 20 or something like that. And then now it's going to, and you could be shifted up from the high end 30, I mean, depending upon you to something else. But, it's not something where a big company can pivot on a dime like that. It'll take
Sure,
time
sure,
to,
sure,
to
sure.
have it happen.
So AWS also are actually Amazon announced that they were laying off a million people. I forget 14,000, anyway, some number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and uh, and normally you would say that makes the stock pop because they're getting more efficient. They're going to make more money. Other people are like, well, wait a minute, maybe this is a concern if they're laying off this many people. And then another crowd is saying, well, see, this is the beginning of the end. People where the AI is killing jobs. And then I have from a reliable source that this has nothing at all to do with AI, even though that's Amazon's headline, that this is a normal, October, November cut
Mhm.
with maybe a little extra because they wanted to really clean house.
Right.
But there's not really that much to do with AI.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like a radical enough change for it to signal anything other than relatively ordinary things. And then Meta laid off 600 people from their AI group, um, AI researchers.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm. Yeah,
but it was for them, like they hired in many thousands, and they were saying that, okay, well, they underperformed, right, where they
yeah,
didn't get the
yeah,
result they wanted. So they
right.
hired in a bunch of new people, and
Mhm,
then they could say, well, you previous people screwed up, and
mhm.
so now we're getting so there's no, I don't view anything that's happened as having a greater theme that you can draw any conclusions about the future of the company. Things are happening, you can draw conclusions about the future of the company, but not related to the employment side of things.
Yeah. And was interesting. And then another thing on the Fed call, I thought maybe the headline should have been that the chairman and maybe the whole Fed feels like the economy is doing just fine.
Right.
I mean, really, if you really listen, he was like, well, jobs are at 4.3. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, 4.3. And, we've got plenty of places to look for this data. We don't have to have the government feeding us the data. We got other places to go get the data, and the data looks fine.
Right.
And we got the Atlanta Fed GDP now is at 3.9
Mhm.
increase compared to
Right.
last year.
Mhm.
So it seems like the economy's pretty good.
Right. Yeah. So to me, there's no alarm bells going. It's you'd only be analyzing some percentage of risk of something going wrong, but there's no smoking gun that things that I can see that things have gone bad.
Well, so the number one thing on everybody's mind in terms of Tesla, of course, continues to be everything related to robotaxis, cybercab. We've got people coming out like Adam Jonas saying it's done. We've got other people that have been saying that already on Wall Street. And part of my thinking this week has been if these, if we get that many price target increases, and Larry argued with me on this on Monday. He says he doesn't think that it's like somebody is going to listen. These guys are paid a lot of money to persuade somebody about what's happening in the market. That's my theory. And so when they come out with a paper, it's not just, because That's what they're expected to do. They're intending for somebody to be persuaded to buy the stocks of the companies that they're recommending. So if you get this many price target increases, it would seem to me that would be starting to tell influential investors on Wall Street that are not in Tesla, are not very deeply into Tesla, that it might be time to take a hard look. What do you think?
Well, several things is that anyone who is thinking that, because a lot of companies were, advisors or analysts were talking about at the beginning of this year, there's going to be a recession in the second half of this year. So now we're in the second half of this year and there's still no recession. To your point that the economy looks good, right? So if they had a bunch of things where they're saying, things can be down, um, even if we, drop down to 6,850, it seems like we're going to end up the year at 7,000 plus on the S&P.
Yeah.
So in that environment, then you would say that, the Mag 7 and stuff are outperforming. Tesla's doing well. Like we had a good quarter. It looks like, very, very soon, Q2, I think to be very, very good for robotaxi and for more cars and for all that. So then there isn't any reason to assume that the things are going to go bad for Tesla. So that they're assuming that, or they're assuming that robotaxi is going to take 10 years. It seems like it's going to be very substantially done by the middle of next year. So anyone who is running their models would need to adjust it to more of our bullish cases.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. So you had estimated, you thought that Shanghai would do 4,000 cars a week. Shanghai is reporting now that they're of the Model YL, and Shanghai is now reporting 2,500. So that was, even though that's off by a lot, Brian, I think that's actually directionally a really good estimate. So that appears to be their max, or their, kind of their number is 2,500 a week.
Well, it's what they're doing for Q4 is what it looks
Right,
like they're doing.
right.
I don't know if it's their max,
Okay.
um, but that's what they're looking to do. Although I'm not sure how official that 2,500 was. Like,
Mm.
do we think it was? Because
It was from senior exec. It was, I forget who said it, but it was an
was it
executive.
was it the Grace Tower or something like that?
I don't remember, honestly.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, so we'll see. 2,500, not as much as I was hoping for. So if it was 4,000 for 13 weeks, then you're looking at 50,000, and at 2,500, then we're looking at about
About
30,000.
about 30,000, yeah.
Right, about 30,000. So 20,000 less. Um, but the fact that it's 20,000 more than 10,000, would suggest that we're making up the a substantial chunk of any shortfall in the United States from China.
Yeah, it would also suggest that if 2,500 a week is what they're doing, that they're maxed out.
Hmm.
That Shanghai is building cars as fast as they know how to build them.
Right,
Because,
right.
the way that you get more cars is you put on shifts, or you switch a line or whatever else. So I mean, it sounds to me like the 90,000 a month that we saw, I'm sorry, 90,000, yeah, 90,000 a month. Yeah,
Yeah,
90,000 a month that we saw in September. Pretty good chance that we're going to get, close to 90,000 a month for the entire fourth quarter.
yeah,
And if we had 270,000 instead of, what was it, 230, I think?
yeah.
That would be your 60,000 right there. So
Right,
that 60,000 would do a lot to get us to the 500,000 for the quarter.
right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's still looking reasonable, but it goes to that they didn't have as much spare capacity as we had, the bulls had thought that they would have. Um, that they had not done as much improvement of the lines, or if they have done it, it's not ready to go.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And they are supposedly making changes to upgrade that.
Mhm.
Um, but I think the the most we can kind of hope for might be um, if they start making um, Cybercabs with wheels and pedals, like we've been hearing about,
Okay.
and we also make some without wheels and pedals for the United States mainly, and getting say 200,000, in 2026.
Mhm.
That combined with more of the low-priced vehicle in all markets, low price Y in all markets. Then I think might be looking at 2.2 to 2.4 million cars in
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
2026. Seems like a reasonable
Yeah,
place to end up
reasonable,
at,
reasonable number.
which
Okay,
would be
so
up to 600,000 in a quarter at times, which would be a big
right,
thing.
right. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think you're now a best-selling author.
Yeah.
You're an Amazon. I know we were just talking about Amazon and all the problems that they're having, but I'm perfectly happy to take the check that they're going to send us.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Amazon.
best-selling author as well. So we're
It's,
both best-selling authors.
yeah, that's right. I'm a best-selling, but it's not my first rodeo. I've done
Yeah,
this
yeah.
before. Anyway, so congratulations for being an Amazon #1 best-selling author in the category that the book is in, which is AI. And so AI depends. The growth of AI, the future of AI depends, as we say in the book, over and over again. Eight eight pieces of the stack. There's 8 parts to the stack. And one of those parts to the stack is the data centers themselves.
Mhm.
And this last week, there's been a lot of conversation, multiple headlines about putting those data centers in space.
Yes. Yes.
So, talk to me about what you think about putting data centers in space.
Okay, so I have, let me just see here. Do I uh, go to here? I'll share it. Hang on a second. Okay, so we see um, a picture of my slide deck here.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
You might want to make it bigger. I'm not sure if you can make it bigger.
Okay, so there you go.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a company called StarCloud, a startup. So
Okay.
they are going to put um, their first Nvidia H100 into space. So previously we not put the latest chips into space because of radiation hardening and other things like that, and NASA was not was reluctant to put up compute that was not proven. But
I
now we
see.
can put up a relatively recent chip. They're putting it in a 60 kilogram um, satellite, and they'll have unfolding solar on this. It's going up in a ride share in a Falcon 9.
Hmm.
So about $300,000 for the ride share, and then however much, a few million bucks, I guess, for the satellite itself.
Hmm.
So it's a proof of concept, ultimately going toward the day when the Starship, the really big rocket, makes launch really, really cheap.
Hmm.
Um, and then they want to be able to make really big arrays. So this thing, you don't really get the scale of it.
Right, right.
It's 5 gigawatt data center. So the data center, the chips themselves are tiny. It's a little thing here, but it's 4,000 meters by 4,000 meters, or about like 2.5 miles by 2.5 miles
Wow. For the solar array.
for the solar array.
Yeah.
Right, right. So that's the goal they want to have. Um, they want to imply that this could be sooner, but I can tell you that there's still a lot to be done to get to this. Okay, so they talk about in the little 13-page white paper that they want to get the cost down to $2 million for a solar array for 40 megawatts.
Hmm.
Right. That and then that would mean we're far cheaper than $140 million for ground-based power.
Wow.
So that's the main area where you can save a lot of money, right? Because the solar power in space would be on the sun all the time. You could have
Right.
an orbit where it's always in sunlight,
Yes.
right? So then you don't have the night and day thing. You don't have the drop off in power.
Mhm.
So that means you can generate power all the time. I don't need batteries, so you can make a lightweight thing, only the solar panels, and they can make these really lightweight solar panels, right? And then their next version will have a huge a solar array getting up to bigger ones, but it's like 4. You can see the little X there.
Yeah.
That's StarCloud 2.
Okay.
And so that would have 4 rolled out solar panels,
Hmm.
right? So let's go to that. So this is the company that they want to get it from, Celestial, but they haven't done that yet. So a different company has done the solar. So this is on the space station.
Hmm.
So if you're looking down below, there's a little bit of a roll at the bottom of it.
Right. Right. Right.
So that unrolled the whole thing. So they kind of pulled
Hmm.
it out, and then
Mhm.
you have solar. So
Seems like every time I have anything like that in my home, it doesn't work.
It can be a risk. Yeah, but they have this thing kind of sorted out. So, but this thing is huge because like there's people, beside that
Uh,
thing,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
when you roll out, you don't even couldn't see the people there before, but it's the width of a football field,
right, right.
right? When you pull it out, and it's like about 10, almost like a 10-yard line thing, but it's a bit smaller than that. But you could get to that. And so they have to get the cost and weight down. So they have like 8 of those rollout things that they've been putting up like one a year for the last 8 years,
Hmm.
right? So they got 8 of those 160 kilowatts, right? So if each one was one of those X's or something like that, maybe you can get 160 kilowatts, right? But you obviously have to make it more power dense, lighter, and cheaper because that cost $100 million. But
Hmm.
anything you stick on the space station is super expensive, right?
Hmm.
So, but you still have to get your costs way down because I want 40 megawatts. So not like
Right,
I don't want like 1 megawatt for $10 million,
right,
right? I want 40 megawatts for 2 million,
right,
right?
right.
So the costs have to come way, way down
Right.
on the solar, right? Even though in theory we can make and maybe even technology readiness level 7 or 9, which means like we can do it on Earth. We can make a
Hmm.
really thin film version of it. We can have it on a roll. We can pull it out, right? But
Hmm.
having a roll that can do that on Earth is different than like a launching a rocket, dump it up there, and then do it out in space. There's
Hmm.
it's the difference between doing that. Anyway, so the space station one had about 100 to 120 watts per kilogram. This one they're going to stick up next month will be about 200, 300. So they're getting like a double, maybe a triple in terms of how much power they can get per kilogram because solar power has been getting better
Right.
since they started doing that before. But they still need to get up to another 4x or 5x to
Hmm.
get to 800 to 1,000 watts per kilogram in terms of
Hmm.
the energy density. So I can shove enough solar into 50 tons, half the capacity of the Starship,
Hmm.
right? And then I got to get that cost down. So besides getting all that solar into it, I have to then get the cost down from 10 years ago, $20 million per,
Yeah.
actually like $100 million for less than a megawatt, right? To say now $100 million for like $50 million maybe. Let's say we got like 10x better, right?
Right.
And
Right.
then you have to get down to 2,000 times cheaper. You have to get to not even just $1 million for 40 megawatts. Or sorry, $2 million for 40 megawatts. So not just $1 million for a megawatt, but getting to like multiple megawatts
Right.
for that $2 million. So that I think is the main problem that they have to get to. If they were um, 10 times more expensive than what their target was. It
Hmm.
cost them $20 million.
Hmm.
Then they still beat the terrestrial thing, right? They can be 50 times more expensive. They can be $100 million
Hmm.
for a kilowatt hour. Sorry, they could be instead of 0.2 cents, they can be like 10 times more expensive. So getting to
So,
$20 million for cost per array is still fine,
so
right?
yeah,
It'll
so
still be
so
cheaper.
that was the stat I noticed the other day is this 0.2 cents per kilowatt hour in terms of what it cost them to utilize it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. So that's the main hurdle is that they have to get this really low cost.
I
So
see.
physically it can be done. Technically, we have things that show, yeah, if we could put this thing in space, it can be done. But combining the two of getting it really cheap in space and efficient. So then they can become 20 times cheaper, than the terrestrial power. But there's they have to get like 1,000 times cheaper or 10,000 times cheaper than they've done before. So there's a huge gap there between what they hope to do. Yeah.
Okay, so on the flip side of that is the computer the chips themselves, and so I had this listening to you as I have for so long, I had this vision of a starship
Mhm.
being just packed like ahead of time, just
Right.
with thousands of these chips,
Right.
and then Starship just goes up and stays there.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's got to have the solar arrays, I think the solar arrays get deployed separately, right? You don't even have to take them on the same Starship.
Right, right. Yeah, so they are separate. So we had that um, view in the thing. There was a picture. So this is the
Oh,
container thing that they were looking to do, right?
I see.
To your point, they were going to shove it really dense with
Yeah,
the chips,
yeah.
right? So they're going to have really dense amounts of chips and like racks and stuff. So when you look at a normal data center, you'll have something that looks kind of like the dimensions of a refrigerator, and then each one have a shelf that has this really heavy um, um, server, right? So each one you'd be pulling out, a server. So this would be like a shipping container filled with racks and servers. Each rack would weigh about like a ton or something like that.
Mhm.
And then you'd have a bunch of them all in there. And then you'd have piping in there to cool it off because you want them to be close together to do all their computing, right? But then you'll have to run coolant and things and power to um, go out to from that center part out to get the power. The power is going to come in from all over 2.2 miles, 2.5 miles, coming in to the center there. So the center will be really dense. To your point, you could have several starships there where you don't have to deploy them. You can say, okay, I'll just leave them in the starship,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I'll have like 100 of them lined up there. So 100 starships all filled with this stuff because I need 100 loads to get to the number of chips I need to have
I
if
see.
you get all the density and things that they talked about. But the rest of the thing would be deploying out the solar panels. If I was just looking at the weight and stuff of the chips themselves, like I have
Hmm.
maybe only 5 loads that would have just the chips themselves, and then the
Hmm.
rest would be deploying all the
Right.
solar. So
Solar.
I might have like 5 or 10 that would just be filled with that. But I have to run the pipes and things to get the coolant to come. Because
Sure.
I'd have to like suck all this heat that's being generated here in the center
Yeah,
and then get it out. So
right.
the front side would be solar, the sun facing side is solar. The other side is the heat radiator for me to get rid of the heat.
I see. Hmm.
So I have to have some kind of thermal heat exchanger thing to bring the heat from the center, send it out to the sides, and then have the heat go away. And then the other side have power collected on the front,
Right.
bring that together. So they have a bunch of wires to bring the power into the center. So this is a huge construction project but to assume that we could get it right the first time or that we can't we have to go from like the 60 kilogram one GPU version next month
Right.
to say 10
Yeah,
GPUs
yeah, yeah.
and or 100 GPUs for version 2, right? The bigger one, maybe a megawatt, right? And then from there you have to go to one full load of 40 megawatts
Right.
so you're scaling up and
Mhm.
it would be some number of years before you get to the end point.
Right. 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 All
But
right.
like Jeff Bezos thinks we can do that in 10, 20 years.
Right.
And that eventually the power being cheaper in space means that we would put all of the data centers into space.
Right. Okay.
So late 2030s, 2040s, we will always be putting it up there. And then I previously had a video where I discussed that you can do that for Mars.
Yeah.
That besides putting in orbit, I could put them directly onto Mars, right?
Yeah.
So if I have a bunch of these things, I can bring it to Mars. And the advantage of Mars is it has ice. It has lakes of frozen ice.
Mhm.
So then you could get the coolant stuff to happen there. And you have to bring the liquid. I could just have to make pipes and things,
Right.
which could be done, with a small factory that could make everything. So then it's a question of, which is easier to build in orbit or build on Mars or both. And are all of them better than building on Earth? Because it takes several years to make your data center. You make your data center in the facility, and then your last load is the chips and the equipment because you don't want to like have them be 2 years out of date.
Right.
You want them to be newer, and
Right.
then
That's
bring them in and install them. Right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You got to always remember that version 6.6 will be coming out, and I want the newest and the latest and the greatest.
Right,
All right, so that's on the chip side. Then the other one that we're going to talk about today is the energy side.
right.
So the U.S. government has just bought a bunch of data centers, which was interesting, but they also made some kind of a deal on nuclear uh,
Power, nuclear
power.
power.
Yes.
Yes.
What's going on there?
So the first deal was with Nvidia, where they're going to have seven supercomputers. I think at two of the national labs. I think Argonne National Lab and probably Livermore or something like that. So they have a total of seven supercomputers, but they're going to be using the latest, B200, B300, whatever
Yeah.
NVIDIA chips. So before the AI data centers, the biggest computers were the supercomputers at the national data centers. But um, those have fallen way behind the AI data centers. The AI data centers are far huger. So this is
They've probably fallen behind this.
no, they haven't fallen behind that. They bought some relatively recently that are still
Okay.
quite
All
good.
right. Okay.
Yeah. So they've fallen behind. So now they're gonna have 100,000 in one of their data centers, and then another one that has 10,000. So it's a substantial deal that they're gonna have. So seven of the latest supercomputers using the latest NVIDIA chips. So that was part of the thing that pushed NVIDIA up another 5-10%. So they went to $5 trillion worth of valuation, right?
And more.
And more. Yeah, 5.03. So um, and that also means that other people will be making supercomputers of that type.
Sure.
Probably China will use their own chips to do the same thing. Europe has to do it. Japan has to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
so
that's
it means that of the 5 million heading to 10 million chips per year over the next 2 or 3 years, 100,000 to 200,000 per year could go to more traditional supercomputers. So that's happening. And then the other thing was the US government said they would invest $80 billion into traditional nuclear reactors. So the Westinghouse reactor has been made for decades, and they had a AP1000 design. And so Westinghouse is owned now by Cameco, the Canadian uranium mining company, the largest uh, uranium company that's traded publicly, because you have other state-run, like Kazakhstan or whatever, uranium. So Cameco owns uh, Westinghouse, as well as Brookfield Management, something like that. It's a real estate company. So they both own that. And the deal is that they'll buy about 8 of the reactors because the reactors are really expensive, which means that they can get the cost down from about $20 billion per gigawatt, because we have previously ordered some AP1000s, and it took 10 to 12 years instead of the planned 5 or 6, and the cost went up 4 or 5 times more than what they were expecting. So $20 billion is crazy, because China can make the same kind of like 1 gigawatt reactor for about like $2.5 billion.
Well, we
So
should have put the order in with them.
yeah, there's some geopolitical thing where they won't do that. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to order 8 of those. That's on top of the fact that they've got this competition going, which for micro or the mini computers, or maybe even
Uh,
mini micro
reactors,
nuclear reactors,
small modular reactors, right?
small modular reactors. But we now have another thing, right, that are called minis, and these would be the ones that are more or less the size of what's on the submarines, and they go.
No, no. So the terminology for that has been around for a while.
Okay,
So
okay,
so so the small modular reactors were, I think, traditionally about like 50 or 100 megawatts up to 300 megawatts,
okay.
and then the submarine reactors tend to be actually overlapping that. The ones in submarines and ones in aircraft carriers are about like 50 to 150 megawatts. So they're still classified as small modular
Okay.
reactors.
Okay.
Um, but it was more of a marketing thing.
I
The
got
the reason that they were making a big deal about it was that if my big reactor, my gigawatt reactor, costs $20 billion,
Right.
then even a utility has trouble funding that. Like,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
PG&E, your
Right.
Southern Edison, or whatever, Edison, they have trouble affording the $20 billion.
Right.
So they said, well, we're going to make it smaller at 250, so 4 times smaller, 250 megawatts, and then it'll only cost you $4 billion, right? Instead of $20 billion,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. Traditionally, the reason from the 60s and stuff we went to bigger reactors was that you'd have a big control station, and that was a bunch of cost. So then, if I make a bigger reactor, then the control stuff would be less of a scaling cost because it was so hard to make it. But computer control is now cheaper and easier, and also I can make multiple reactors, like a 6 pack or an 8 pack or whatever, and then still have the same control, but then if I can make each unit cheaper and better. But that whole thing of like make it cheaper and better has been the hard problem that has not happened for 20 years. There's talk about it, and then there's the theoretical, I can just make a small reactor and it'll only cost $4 billion. I can have it more predictably in cost and time, but it has not been done, right? So when they have tried to make a small reactor, it has ended up still costing them a lot of money, right? And so ended up taking a lot of time, right? So I can make it in 2 years instead of 5, which is the time it takes South Korea and China to do it, where they just like are able to like produce it quickly, and the way the U.S. used to be able to do it at times in the 60s and 70s, and the way the French did it in the 80s, right? So the West had done it before they went to um, one where anything that we make big in the West, skyscrapers, bridges, all became insanely expensive.
Yeah.
You know,
It
the
take forever.
yeah, they take forever. Like the Bay Bridge cost like $7 billion, and it was like fixing up half of a bridge, right? It
Yeah.
was like, and it was when they were first talking about it in the 90s after the earthquake, they were saying, well, it should only cost $200 million, and then redesign, and then price of steel went up, and blah blah blah, and suddenly it's $6 or $7 billion. Um, the World Trade Center, for Freedom Tower One, ended up costing like $5-10 billion. The original World Trade Center cost like far less, and then even cheaper was the Empire State Building. Empire State was still standing, and they built it in less than a year, like 300 some days. They
Yeah.
built it.
Yeah.
So physically you could do it with lower technology. You could do it, and China can do it. And so the U.S. has not done it, and so the nuclear reactors, just like all of these big construction projects, got way expensive in the West because of these structural issues around how
Sure.
everything became more expensive. And also unique to nuclear was the moving goalposts of like, build this. Hey, over the course of your 5 years, I'm going to make you redesign it and do a bunch of other things. So you added on more and more things that just made it so that, well, now I got to go and rechange everything. If anyone who's gone and had a house remodel or build, if you put in change orders, then it becomes more expensive, right? So that's what happens.
I had a number of builders as clients in my last 17 years when I was doing marketing consulting, and the builders will all tell you
Yeah,
we love those change orders.
right,
We don't we don't even have to make any money at all on the original project. Just give me
right,
enough change orders and it'll make me a lot of money.
right, right. So again, it's similar to the the space AI thing. In theory, these are all good.
Yeah,
The pitch of like we're going to do this and be cheaper and better is, the reality versus you haven't done it yet.
yeah,
The plan sounds plausible, but you have not done it.
yeah. So good for the Trump administration. Extremely aggressive across all of these categories.
Yeah,
Even Trump said he was going to talk to Xi about the Blackwell.
Blackwell chips. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, for there, like Jensen talked about, been on various interviews talking about the fact that up until a year or two ago, they had some like
90%, 90%.
90% of the China AI chip market,
Yeah,
and now they're zero because of these bans.
right.
So China's still making AI chips. So, and now they will depend more and more on the domestic chips. So, giving them a slightly watered down NVIDIA chip will still give the US a lead and also give NVIDIA the money on that. So, um,
And 15% to Uncle Sam.
if it's minimum percent, yeah.
All right. So we have Tesla, same as it was when I looked last time, down about 0.63 in the after hours, or what is it? It's still the pre-market, not the overnights. You have to have all these right terms, right? I've
Mhm.
never even understood why they all use different terms for everything. Anyway, okay. Couldn't they just call all of it the overnight or something? I don't know. Okay. So then I don't know if I already mentioned it, but bonds, 2.63.
Mhm.
2.63. That's 6 basis points in a 7 basis points in a
Was that the
day.
2 year? Oh, was
That's
that?
the 10. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the bund. They keep messing up my thing.
Yeah,
What's wrong with these people? It probably has to do with that AWS shutdown today. Let's go do 4.076. So
right.
about 8%, 8 basis points up in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. My gut is that's going to settle out
Mhm.
slowly but surely. It's going to kind of move down back to the
Sub
four.
threes. Yeah, it's sub fours. Yeah,
Right.
near
Yeah.
threes.
Sub four. Yeah. All right. That's my thinking. Anyway, I'm probably wrong, but I have been pretty good at hitting the bond numbers. Um, Oil has stayed in good shape. It was up 26 today. Now it's down 26. So we're at $60.22.
Mhm.
Natural gas unchanged. Look at there. Everything's unchanged.
Mhm.
Gold, though. All right, here you go. Do you have any? Put on your prognostication hat.
Yeah.
We want your guess here. So I said it would get to 3,400 before it got to 4,400. You may know that I hit that right out of the park on the high
Yeah.
because it only got to 3,375.
Yeah.
Now we're back under 4,000 again. I got to get another 600 down in order to get to that 3,400. What do you think?
Um, I think not looking that good for that. I think it's gonna go to 4,400 before it drops that low.
Okay, we got silver down in I guess that would be the pre-market at 40, but still sitting at $47.55. And copper, I was just talking about that with Lutz. It's at $5.20. That's down a little bit the last couple of days. It was up around 550. I have not looked at it for a few days with regard to that mine that had some problems. Whether this is all still that mine and a shortage as a result, or whether this is beginning, because I was thinking that the data centers were going to start to really jack up the cost of copper. What do you think?
I think there's a lot of demand for a lot of energy things. So for AI data centers, they need a lot of copper. For data centers, sorry, beyond data centers, EVs and other things. So the more electrical things that we have, the more demand for copper there'll be. So I think with the various tech revolutions, then there will be an ongoing demand for a lot of copper.
So part of the thing, of course, about the hawkishness of the Fed is that the dollar did go up today. So now that people are like, are they going to lower it? Are they going to lower it in December? Bitcoin 2,900 down to 111,000 are we going to hit that 200,000 by the end of the year like all the Bitcoin guys are talking about?
Um, if they're able to do it, then it seems like it'd be difficult to get to more than 150,000. But you know,
Yeah.
if they're directionally right,
Then they'll be happy. Yeah, you
yeah,
only got 2 months to go here. I
yeah.
mean, it's almost November 1st. Ethereum down 2.85 for the day at 3,940. The pre-market for the stocks now, the equities, pretty much across the board down 0.13, 0.12, and 0.22 for the Nasdaq. But the S&P futures are now over, as you pointed out, over 6,900.
Mhm.
I mean, we could be at 7,000 tomorrow.
Right.
And the rate has been going. It went up
Yeah.
84 this morning before the Fed meeting. It was up, I think it was up 84 in one day.
right.
So we could be at 7,000 tomorrow.
Yeah, well, more big announcements. We still have like Apple and Amazon to go. So if they can say some good things, then the Mag 7 could have a little bit of a pop, and then we get there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. All right, so of course everybody needs to hang out. You got another hour to go. No, it wasn't quite an hour. Lutz and I were only, I think, 45 minutes. So make sure you put aside 45 minutes tonight to watch Lutz and I go at it at roughly 7:45 California time. And Brian, any last words of wisdom? Uh, buy stock, buy books, and buy stock. Buy Tesla stock. That's not investment advice.
Right, right. I think, yeah, support us with buying the AI Rising book, and then we'll be covering a lot more AI over the next few weeks, um, doing a lot of interviews with our co-authors. So look forward to that.
Yeah, and I keep telling people, and this will be on your channel as well, so I haven't had a chance to tell your people, we don't care if you read it. You know, just buy the book. It's only $2.99 on Kindle. Just pay the $2.99 because you love Brian's smile. Just that's the only reason. And then maybe read Brian's chapters and my chapters. And then after that, if you found those entertaining, then you can read the rest. And by the way, this is a book that is 17 articles. Actually, in a way, it's 20 articles. So there's 17 chapters, if you will. But by the way, the three appendices are really almost as good as the rest of the book. So one of the appendices, we list the top 126 most influential people in the AI game. And as they say with the headlines, you'll be shocked by number two. That's a reason right there. See, pay your $2.99 and go find out who is number two as the second most influential person in the AI game. And then we got a whole chapter where we talk about the acronyms. Wouldn't you like to have a quick place where you could go, oh, what are they even talking about? Oh, that's what that acronym is. And then what am I missing here? There's a third one. Uh, I know the 10 biggest questions that people have about AI. And so I asked Rock, what are the 10 most important, what are people asking? What are the 10 questions? So we took those 10 questions and then all nine authors answered various ones of them. And so, but in some cases we have five or six or seven of the authors, and another one maybe five. So you get to see like a cross section of what people think about whether AI is going to destroy all jobs, for instance.
Yep. So a lot of important things to see there and learn, and love for you to read it, and also to give us feedback on it.
100%. We need those reviews.
Yeah.
Yes, reviews, reviews, reviews. Okay, Brian, I guess we're
Okay.
done. All right.
Yep.
It's been great talking to you.